Was the Avengers Endgame re-release worth it? If you haven't seen the Endgame re-release yet, don't waste your time because it's not worth it. I know I did a long drawn out video on this before, but this is something that's such a fail that it deserves its own video that people are more likely to actually watch. Let's start with what we were actually given. Now, I have no problems with Endgame having a re-release, okay? Because while it's an obvious attempt to beat Avatar as the number one, Avatar also had an Avatar also had a re-release, so I'm not really slamming Endgame for doing the same thing, but this is more of a problem with how they did it, so how what scenes they gave us and how they contribute to the main story. Which, by the way, if you were expecting anything new, you don't have to expect it because all we got was a unfinished CGI scene and also some half-assed post-credit scene. What I'll be discussing here is what we got, but also what we should have gotten, so it would have attracted more people to actually watch the re-release. So let's start with the unfinished CGI with the Hulk. So let's start with the first point because this is one of the most underwhelming parts of the re-release. It pains me to say this because I know Avengers Endgame is a great movie, but it pains me to say that the re-release is absolutely not worth it because these are the only stuff that we actually got. It was cool to see Professor Hulk saving the kids, but I mean that's not what the fans were. Okay, it's like we look at it and we're just like, okay, that's it, because not only is it not contributing to the main storyline, but at the same time the CGI is unfinished. That is a big problem because you got such a huge budget, we got people working on this film, and the best they can give us is a CGI scene that isn't even done. It doesn't that seem fishy to you all? Because there was a lot more important scenes that they could have put in. They could have done a Hulk vs Thanos rematch. I know that that alone could have gotten far more people to actually watch the movie. Because you can add all these stuff, but what the fans actually wanted to see are not these pointless stuff that contribute nothing to the main storyline, or stuff that don't redeem some of the characters. Which I know Thor himself, he had a redemption at least because while he was fat the whole movie, but at least he still managed to fight Thanos at least. So he still did something in the final battle that people can remember and remember Thor fondly. Now, Hulk on the other hand, I know that they did character development on him, but that doesn't mean it's a satisfying one. Yeah, yes, he did have character development, but that doesn't mean it's satisfying because we Hulk would not even come out in Infinity War. If Hulk had a badass shown in Infinity War, then we could have probably forgiven that he settled down and became Professor Hulk. That would have been okay, but Infinity War did not do that. It promised a rematch. Well, we promised a rematch to see in Endgame, but that didn't happen. So that was very underwhelming. I know most Hulk fans were disappointed. Also, I read the comments on the internet. So that's not one of the problems. Now let's go with the Stan Lee tribute because I have no problem with having a Stan Lee tribute, but what was stopping them from including that in the original cut? I mean, why didn't you do this before? Because I know Captain Marvel. I've seen the movie Captain Marvel. They had a Stan Lee tribute in the very beginning. So what was stopping them from putting it in Avengers Endgame's first release? So all that re-release, you have to sit 3 hours again. All of that just for these two scenes are absolutely not worth it. I'm sorry to say, it's a painful truth, but it's just not worth it. Um, Now let's also talk about what we should have gotten because these are the only stuff we actually got in the movie. So let's talk about now what I feel that they should have added in the re-release. Actually, wait, before we talk about that, let's also talk about Spider-Man because Far From Home was already been released by the time I made this video, so I haven't seen Far From Home yet, but if you want to see any Spider-Man scenes in Avengers Endgame, then yeah, that's probably one of the others only good stuff that they added in. But even then, it's still not worth sitting through 3 long hours again a second time just to see the one good post-credit scene and then two that are not worth it. So yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home is probably the only one that I will agree that it's okay to put in, but the other two were not were basically not worth it to sit again for 3 hours. So as I said earlier, let's go to what they should have added now. One of the stuff that I was very disappointed in was when they cut out the Tony Stark's vision in the Soul Stone. This one was very interesting to see because we seen Thanos when he snaps his fingers, he went in the Soul Stone and saw Gamora. Now, if I'm correct, they actually said this in the wiki somewhere. Let me search it up. Yes, so I'm gonna look up the Avengers Endgame deleted scene with Tony Stark. So Tony Stark deleted scene. So let's have a look at probably this first article. Let's see what they says. I can explain it better in detail here. All right, so what we're saying. Oops, let me get rid of this alert. Okay, so what the Russo brothers, the directors, they said that a scene showing Tony interacting with a teenage Morgan immediately after snapping his fingers, similar to how Thanos went into the metaphysical world after he snapped his fingers. I mean, like seriously, why didn't we get this instead of seeing it? I mean, the excuse they gave us was that the test audiences were confused by it, but that doesn't matter because the Russo brothers explained some other confusing stuff as well that were not in the movie. So they could have easily just said to their fans that Tony Stark saw his daughter in the future, because that would have been even though that was confusing, it could have foreshadowed many future plot lines. I feel like this was truly a wasted opportunity. I can't really get over how bad they made their re-release. I can't get over how bad the decisions they made, because this was a very important scene that they removed, and they replaced. They thought that a unfinished CGI scene with the Hulk was more important than this. Like what? Right, let's moving on from that. Let's talk about Captain America now, because this is another thing that I was curious to look at, because I'm wondering how Captain America will return all the stones to where they were without interrupting, because we clearly see all the Avengers struggling to keep the timeline intact when they're a team. So how much harder is it to return the stones when you're by yourself, especially when all the drama is going on? So it's pretty interesting to see how Captain America would have done it. But the main missed opportunity to see was him returning the Soul Stone. I know many people share this sentiment because before making this video, I have read people complaining about Captain America and Red Skull not being shown on screen. So I know people share this sentiment, but that was another major missed opportunity. They could have shown this sometime in the after credits as well, where Captain America meets Red Skull in Vormir. Would have been very, very, very interesting to see how they would have seen each other after 70 so years. Because also it'll clear up how Captain America will return the Space Stone, how he'll return especially the Soul Stone, because not only does he have to meet Red Skull a second time, so we can see his reaction, but we also have to see if Natasha, who sacrificed herself, can be brought back. Which, by the way, if you return the Soul Stone, wouldn't that return, like, why doesn't it return Black Widow? Because that, basically, it should be like a refund, basically. And even then, how did he even fly to Vormir? Like, does he have a spaceship? Did he use Thor's hammer? Like, we never really know because we never see it. So it's all left to interpretation. But the re-release had an opportunity to actually show it, and they blew it by including all these scenes that were not important to the main story. Like, these are the stuff that Marvel should be focusing on when actually wanting to make a good re-release or wanting to clear up any plot points that were left hanging in the original Avengers Endgame cut. And even they also re-released it at the time that Avengers Endgame was still in theaters, so it's not like Avatar where they had like they waited a few months before re-releasing again. So it was some all way too obvious that it was just an obvious cash grab to once again defeat Avatar in the number one spot. All right, so enough about Captain America, but let's go to the third point. That is the Hulk vs Thanos rematch. And I know, I believe I said this last time because that was one of the me as a Hulk fan, I was dying to see this, and that didn't happen. And it's like I was running into a brick wall because that was that disappointing. Now, Hulk snapping his fingers, that was good because at least he did something worthwhile. But the worst part came afterwards because in the final fight, he struggles to lift a building and he doesn't even play much of a final role in the final fight. We never see him smash like he did in Avengers 1. And to make matters worse, his arm is disabled now permanently. Apparently, that's according to the writers. I think they permanently made him crippled in the right arm after snapping his fingers. And I'm just like, bruh, doesn't he have a healing factor? Because I'm just like, oh my god, like, they don't do Hulk justice. Now, the reason why I think Hulk vs. Thanos rematch would have been great is because in Infinity War, Hulk basically had his ass beat in the first 5 minutes of the film. I have no problem with that because I know it's meant to show how big of a threat Thanos was, so I have no problems with him beating the Hulk. What I did have a problem was they made the Hulk look bad because people were, before the Russo brothers came up with the explanation that Hulk didn't want to be used by Banner anymore, people were speculating that Hulk was scared. Okay, you screwed up really bad if people thought, if the director, look, you screwed up really bad if the director had to come out and defend him. So if the director had to come out and the movie was not enough, that's how you know you made the Hulk look bad. So Endgame was a perfect opportunity to redeem him. And now it doesn't matter if it's not in the original cut, but in the re-release they could have done that. That would I know honestly from that scene alone that would have attracted far far more viewers to watch the re-release. That and Captain America would have attracted more viewers, but that didn't happen. So as I said earlier, that it's a good thing I did not really see the re-release. I just read some of the stuff that they added, and I knew it. I was glad because I already had a feeling something was weird because they did the re-release way too early. Like it's not Endgame has not even left theaters yet, and they're already doing it. So I knew something was quite fishy at the time. So I do not want to come across as a hater because I love the Avengers Endgame movie. That's one of my favorite Marvel movies, but I just had to say the truth that the re-release was unfortunately not worth it. Now, I know some people will still see the movie, like they will still see it anyway because diehard Marvel fans will basically chalk up anything that Marvel gives them. But that even though people see it, it doesn't mean that it's actually worth it because we had to sit through 3 hours again just to see scenes that were not even important to the main storyline. And on top of that, they didn't really wrap up most of the questions that most fans had. I mean, the Russo brothers did explain some of the plot holes, like Thanos and time traveling without any Pym particles. They were able to fix that by saying that Ebony Maw and Thanos replicated the Pym particles, so that's okay. But actually, I think I should have added that as well. They could have shown us replicating it so that it didn't feel like they left an entirely huge scene out, and then we're just like, huh, how did that happen? Like, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like that's what Marvel could have done. But what did Marvel actually do? Oh, we'll just make the reverse Avengers Endgame re-release, but let's just use the same shit over and over again, like, because I know that the fans will eat it up. Let's just add some shitty CGI Hulk scene, and then some stupid-ass Stanley tribute at the end. It's not even worth it. Well, they watch 3 hours again. Yeah, we're gonna beat Avatar. I mean, just for real, like, I mean, like, if I were them, though, I would have actually added in those scenes, like, especially with that huge amount of budget and effort they put in the movie. I know they could have done much better with that. Okay, so um, let's see. Endgame will definitely beat Avatar because of the re-release, but anyway, that's just a video expressing what I feel they should have done with the re-release instead of giving us this scenes that were not even worth it. Right? Thank you very much for watching. Again, I am not hating the movie. The movie was great. It's just that the re-release was not, in my opinion, not that good. Comment down below if you agree, or comment down below what else you also wanted them to see. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.